Welcome to my YouTube channel Blank. I'm Iron and today will be another speed paint with a creepypasta attached to it. So let's begin. The story of the Abiteth twins. On this day, I remember I had been coming home from a rather long stressful shift at work. I hadn't had much of a breakfast, and I had skipped lunch. It being nearly midnight by now, it was way past dinner time, so I pulled up at McDonald's. Disgusting places, but I figured going for one single meal there wasn't going to totally ruin my life. Oh, how wrong I had been. there weren't a whole lot of there weren't a whole lot of cars pulled up there besides myself. And by the time I was ready to order, there was only one left up there with me. I looked up at the billboard that is always by the speakers where you order food, wondering what to get. Maybe a strawberry shake, but just a small, of course. Despite working so hard all day, I was so tired now that strangely, I couldn't bring myself to be very hungry. Sure, I hadn't eaten all day, but you know how it is. Anyway, so I began to speak into the microphone. One small strawberry shake, a 6-piece chicken nuggets, no fries though. I never did care for them. As I finished ordering and pulled up to get the rest of my food, so did the other car, a beaten up red van. I noticed that it moved in oddly slow, jerky movements. It was really giving me a hard time when it came to pulling up, so I peered inside the car to see who this jerk of a driver was. What I saw was kind of shocking. There was no driver, just two young girls in the back. One with dark brown hair and the other an ebony black. Other than their hair, they looked entirely the same. But a car with no driver along with two identical girls, I figured that I was just delirious from being tired and was imagining things. Some strange music was pumping out of the car. I realized it was entirely foreign music, probably a different language. But again, I was delirious, so I didn't realize how odd that would generally be. All I knew was that it was actually pretty catchy, so I began to hum along quietly, eventually and hopelessly trying to imitate some of the words. They sounded kind of Japanese. Man, those crazy words were hard to say. Nevertheless, I kind of lost track of time. Finally, though, the van began to pull away, and as it turned, nearly crushing an innocent traffic cone, I should have realized at that point that really there truly was no driver, just two girls cheerily swaying to the odd tunes in a van with a ghastly steering wheel. It was several hours later at this point, and I was sitting at my table eating breakfast. Finally, it was Saturday. No more work. Of course, that was why I didn't wake up till noon. Lots of time to myself. Perfect for pondering over the dream I had last night that I was sitting in the seat between those two girls I had seen at McDonald's. The car had sped away, as if on a mad goose chase, while the odd foreign music played, and yet I hadn't felt as if I had any control. Strangely, it wasn't an unpleasant dream. So then, another hour or so later, I don't want to go into uneventful detail. I was walking down the street listening to faint music. Not the strange music of last night, of course. It was the happy-go-lucky annoying music you would hear at any festival or carnival. There was one going on today at the town square, which was where I was headed now. I think there was a I think it was for some harvest something or other since there were so many farms around there. But really I couldn't be sure since there tended to be a lot of public events around here. As I approached, it was kind of hard to find a place to park. Suddenly a horn sounded to my left, and I slammed on the brakes just before a beat-up red van came speeding in front of me, totally destroying my left mirror and leaving many scratches on my car. Just my luck. I bought it only 2 weeks ago. I began to yell at the driver who had just destroyed my vehicle. They paid no attention to me until I was in the middle of threatening to sue. I had some minor anger issues. Two girls in the back of the car turned their heads to look at me, at the same time revealing there to be no driver. A cold lump formed in my stomach as I stepped out of the vehicle. Hadn't I seen these two last night? I called out and asked them if they needed assistance, being that, well, they were in what appeared to be an enchanted car. They shook their heads slightly, bringing my attention to their faces rather than their car. They were completely identical, aside from, of course, the fact that the left one had long black hair draping down from her head, while the other had brunette that was just as long, reaching past their waists. And something I hadn't noticed before was that each of them wore a huge, like apple bloom, huge, dark purple bow in their hair. Not that the particular details mattered. I just figured I would point them out, though it was striking how similar the two were. Anyhow, I asked the two if they might step out of the car. They did, and approached me as if I were an old friend instead of a total stranger. Brave girls. Lucky for them, I was nice and not some kidnapper/murderer. I asked a few questions, finding out that they were in fact twins, and that the black-haired one's name was Tenma, and the brunette's name was Aki. Strange names, but I didn't say that. Now, here is something even stranger. Whenever I asked the two where they were from, who their parents were, or any similar question, their answers would always be Abiteth. No exceptions. No way around it. That was their answer no matter how I worded the question. And their faces seemed so bright, so joyful, yet so silent and innocent. I wondered how old they could be. That was my next question. The one called Aki told me that my question was not valid, so I simply shrugged it off. I asked them if they wanted to tag along with me to the festival, and they shook their heads, so I just left. There was no helping those two. Later on, while I was sampling some freshly grown cherries that were being sold, I caught a glimpse of the two girls again. They smiled and waved and yelped at me a single word, Abiteth, as if it actually meant something. They were still acting as if I were an old friend, which was odd. Maybe they just liked me. Only something strange happened as they turned away. I felt an odd sensation that made my leg twitch. For a moment I felt as if I should be doing something that I wasn't. But there was no way and the girls could but there was no way that the girls could be connected. Right? Wrong. Many times through the day I would see precious little Tenma and Aki. Each time they would smile and wave and yell to me Abiteth. Each time as they turned away I felt that same gut-wrenching sensation, and each time it would get stronger. It was as though I should be following them whenever they turned to walk away. Their ribs showed and they were small and hungry looking, and so innocent. I wonder if they had a place to stay for the night, but still, despite all of that, I didn't follow them. The next night I was sound asleep. I had many dreams that normal people would have, but several times in the middle of them, I would see images of the girls skipping along a path as if they were actually going somewhere. These scenes seemed to interfere with my normal dreams for eternity, while really they were only for a split second every time. I couldn't just shrug it off. Something was going on with these two. It was as if they were infecting my brain. Suddenly, I heard a soft whispering sound at my window. I nearly vomited. Two charming faces were staring through my window. Two charming faces were staring through my window with their faces close to the glass. Wide eyes almost seemed to swirl. And they hummed an eerie song, definitely Japanese. I didn't know this, but the song they were singing was The Game of Life by Hatsune Miku. Suddenly, I lost it. I wanted to scream, to smash things. For a moment, I just wanted not to be there. I was going totally psychotic. That little moment of chaos didn't last long. It was as if the two girls had brainwashed me. I mean, I knew I knew what I was doing, and I could tell I was meaning to do it, but at the same time, I just didn't. It was as though subconsciously I thought I didn't have a choice. I had gotten out of bed and I was following Denma and Aki down the street. Within minutes, we were outside of our humble little town and still going. Hard-paved streets turned to rubbish dirt ones. Farms and other buildings melted away into trees and bushes, and the silence that had taken place before was drowned by swaying leaves in the treetops. Suddenly, I was conscious again. I mean, I had been fully conscious, but I had caught more control of myself now. I began to get angry more than anything, and I took a step towards the two girls. I began to question them in an infuriated voice, but what funny business about what funny business they I began to question them in an infuriated voice about what funny business they were up to. Bad move. They took a step away from me in totally complete unison each time I took one towards them. I stopped moving. They looked afraid, and my heart softened. Then something else caught my eye. The two began to approach me again, despite backing up before for whatever reason, and they each pulled out a knife. I was too shocked to move, and before I knew it, I felt something cold touch one of my arms. The cuts were so clean and even, they didn't even hurt. But they were coated in smooth purple liquid, the same color as the bows they were wearing. Poison. I began writhing on the ground as the burning pain of poison hit me moments later. It was slow. It was painful. And the two girls sat down cross-legged, with their hands on their laps, watching. As my vision began to fade and blur, and the pain began to disappear, I knew my time was ending. Both girls bent down and kissed me directly on the forehead. Then they got up, held hands, and made a circle around me in that way, skipping round and round cheerfully. La 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 la. My vision was gone completely now, but I could hear them singing it loudly. A childish, eerie song that was much different from their Japanese one. In between each few syllables, you could hear a tiny, cute laugh, until they both finally broke into hysterical laughter. Was this funny? I didn't have time to answer, as they took up their Japanese song and began singing it into my ears as my life was sucked away. Their voices echoed in my ear, only they were infused with a single word, Abiteth. Or at least, that's what I wish had happened. Now I am here. Where is here? I don't know. All that surrounds me is whiteness, eternal whiteness. I have been here 16 years now without aging a day. I haven't eaten anything, and yet I haven't gotten thinner or hungrier. I don't need sleep. I don't need water. I don't need anything. Anything but socialization. Once in a while, I see a ghastly figure of another human being with two distinct cuts, one on each arm, but I only get a glance before they are shrouded in mist. I have never seen the same person twice, or spoken with any of them, but I must assume they are more of Tenma and Aki's victims, just like myself. There is constant silence, though. Once in a while, the silence is broken by either the childish law tune that I heard before I died, or the strange Japanese song that seems to haunt my memory. I don't think I will ever escape this place. I wonder if this is what eternity looks like, or is it just where the victims of those girls go? I found out too late that their names must mean demon. And that's the end. I hope you guys liked it. I hope it makes you wanna click the bell, the notification bell, drop a like, comment, or subscribe. Either or anything at all would be great. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!